Good morning, Westchester. It is 7:35 and 38 degrees outside. You are listening to the voice of Westchester, and I am very, very happy to bring to you one of the voices of Westchester, certainly one of the important ones and one of the loudest ones and most prominent. The chairman of the County Board of Legislators is kind enough to join us every single Thursday at 7:35, and here he is again, Ken Jenkins. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, TJ, and good morning, Westchester.
There you go. You always say that. You always do that. Thank you so much for helping me with that greeting. And Merry Christmas to you. How was your holiday?
Mine was very good. Hopefully yours was well.
It was. Very blessed. Very blessed. Blessings all around. I'm overpaid in this life. I'm very overpaid. So, sir, what's on your mind these days? It's traditionally a slow news period. There's a lot of legislation behind us. It's kind of a quiet period. We've got stuff looking ahead. I guess, next week it'll already be the new year by the time we speak next. So what's on your mind today? What are you looking forward to? What's your thoughts?
Well, we're working on obviously those things that we talked about last week as far as gun control, and we actually heard what the NRA's position was, which was completely missing the mark, and I hope that we're going to continue to work with those advocates to come up with things that are sensible as far as gun regulations and control, and working on that. We're setting up for our state legislative package, which will include a request to ban assault weapons and to continue on that particular front. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of activity going on as we're setting up for our infrastructure investments. I mean, we take this time now to do the planning, so when spring breaks and cooler weather or warmer weather starts to break, that we're in position to do projects for the benefit of Westchester County. We got prairie land things that we got to deal with. We have local development corporations that people want to concern themselves and try to understand how we can best do that in Westchester County. We have a lot of things on the docket. Yeah. And right now, everybody's taking a good breather and a well-deserved rest. Yeah. As we gear up, we still certainly have open contracts that are going on. Obviously, the CICA in Westchester County, which is the largest union, and they've been. We got more information. The legislators, actually, all of us, received their information on what they had offered prior to the budget being proposed, which a lot of people are kind of scratching their heads about, to say why that wasn't moved forward on, to be able to preserve employment opportunities as well as provide services to people of Westchester. Mm-hmm. So those are going to continue on, and I expect that we'll hear some things about that as we move forward.
And once again, we are speaking with Ken Jenkins. He's the chairman of the County Board of Legislators. Excuse me, sir. And, you said something interesting there. And I listen, when I finally heard Wayne LaPierre, when they finally broke their silence last Friday, I believe it was. It was a bit jarring. You were a little surprised at how they were almost a cliche of themselves. I say that I really happily. I say that freely. At the same time, though, you say they completely missed the mark. I don't know if they completely missed the mark, because I think one of the takeaways from this current rash, this situation that we all find ourselves dwelling on in Newtown, is, and you would really hope, because that was also the spirit of what the president said in that memorial service that Sunday, is that everything should be on the table. And while LaPierre definitely went down that path of the typical cliche, he did mention about, basically, Chairman, what I'm getting at is, shouldn't everything be on the table? Shouldn't what he mentioned about our culture, about, even looking at video games and looking at other stimuli, things like, look, nobody's saying that hip-hop music and Hollywood and MTV cause kids to go and shoot things up. No, these are all people who are mentally unstable. But just in terms of this, you just talked about legislators taking a breath. And it may be time the whole country takes a breath and just slows down.
Well, something, TJ, one thing I think, the missing the mark is because they were silent for so long, from the times of the shooting to when their statement was, I think that not only, I'm saying missing the mark, and, no pun intended, but as far as being able to say, hey, let's take a look at what's going on and let's talk about those things. They chose to talk about, arming, guards in the school, et cetera. And we talked a little bit about school security officers, et cetera.
Yeah.
That should be on the table as far as a discussion. But putting more guns out isn't the answer at this point in time.
Yeah.
What we really need to do is understand what, there's people that are hunted and I've visited around the country and getting to go to different places. And our state, New York, I mean, people really hunt. And
yeah, exactly.
Use weapons to eat.
Right.
Those are not assault weapons.
Right.
If those don't have magazines or guns that bullets that go out 100 rounds in a minute. Those are not that kind of thing, and those things need to be on the table. But when you start with let's put more guns in people's hands and the more good guys' hands.
Right.
Well, a good guy one day is a bad guy the next
Absolutely.
day.
Yeah. No. Exactly. And again, that's where open-minded people, conservatives, have to at least entertain the conversation. Too many people on both sides just shut that steel door of intolerance for the conversation. And again, I've said it now, this is the third time I'm saying it this morning. Look, if we're going to get tough in terms of really cracking down on the bad guys, well, then, maybe it's going to take the left talking to outfits like the ACLU and saying, look, we're about to get tough. We're about to go after crack houses. We're about to go after gang members. And so you know what? It'd be nice if you sort of laid low a little bit and stopped throwing red flags every single time we went to take down, or a stop and frisk situation. Maybe the left is going to have to give a little on stop and frisk, for example.
Well, I think that, again, when you go through things, no matter what it is, there's statistics when you review it and you say, well, how are these particular procedures utilized? Everyone should be open-minded, and
exactly.
I think that's the key that you're talking about,
sure.
Which is to be able to disagree on topics without having these really radical ends on the left or the right. It doesn't matter, right?
Yes.
You got to be able to put something on the table so that you can have a discussion without people immediately poo-pooing it and saying, oh no, we can't do that, right? So whatever that is, whether that's talking about procedures for stop and frisk and all those things like that, was said. Hey, wait a minute. If you're going to have stop and frisk, let's have it for a reason, not because you were black and walking down the street with a hoodie on.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right.
a problem.
Right. Exactly.
Now,
exactly.
If you're running out of a building that's a known drug location, then maybe that is a rationale. But just being on the street is not. So again, the gun owners, just bolt action, rifles and that kind of thing. That's not going to go into school and kill 27 people, right? Yeah,
right.
That same person may be mentally ill, and they still might have had the same issues, but they would have been able to, address things more quickly. That's the things like the NRA has to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing, again, people have to understand there are real people that use guns to live,
right.
Not because they're, having a sidearm and they want to, walk around with a gun and have
right.
a full carry permit. I mean, there's a lot of things that you got to get down to. Why do certain people have full carry permits? And Politico and the national news with the journal news identification through the public, the freedom of information about where guns are located,
right.
And people say, oh, that's good and bad. You have a right to know. And getting into the national glare on something that's probably a little gray area as far as a safety issue is concerned. Because if there's a gun in the house, somebody may be breaking into the house. Or the weapon.
At the same time, look again. That's one that that's a whole huge ball of wax. Hey, listen, yeah. I've got the news coming. I don't want to cut you off, so let me say Happy New Year, and we will speak to you next Thursday.
And have a Happy New Year, TJ, and great day for Westchester.
Thank you, sir. All the best. Bye bye now. All right, there goes Ken Jenkins. Always glad for his time.